Welcome, Adriana. So happy to have you here. And in a way that feels so full circle because you are literally about to step into baby leave, which is so exciting. And when we first connected at the beginning of 2025 about stepping into constantly converting by design, that is what you said to me. You said, Jazz, I want to prepare for motherhood. And I feel like this is the right step. And so, how full circle is that for us?
I love it. I remember it so clearly still reaching out to you
Do
and being
you?
like, yeah, and being like, I want to prepare for baby. We're trying for a baby. And now it really has all the hard work's paid off. So thank you for that. And we are in this very, very cool full circle moment.
Yeah, amazing. And so tell me a little bit. Can you take us back to that? You said that you remember that moment so clearly. Like take us back to everything that was going on in your mind because it's a huge thing, right? To be, and I know in your particular in your relationship and in your household, like you're a big part of the income that you make together, right? Like it's there's a lot that falls on your shoulders, right? And I can relate to that. We're in a similar situation together too with me and my husband. And so how were you feeling in that moment? Like, did it feel exciting, but also a bit scary? Like, what was your mindset?
I remember really clearly being like to Greg, my partner, I need a business coach, but I'm so tired of everyone I've worked with and love them, but I needed a Jazz. Um, and I'm a business coach, so I get it. I knew what I was looking for. I wanted someone who understood like the depth of what I do, the variety in what I do, but also who could give me something really grounded for once, like just solid structure and strategy. And I remember us having this conversation, and Greg really agreed. He was like, you need that to move forward. It is going to be what, revamps our income. And at the time, we were in a bit of a dip because I had been unwell the year prior and
Mm.
we were needing to rebuild back up. And that's what I really remember about reaching out and being really clear on this is what we needed. And then preparing for baby, was obviously huge, being that we both work inside this business.
Mm.
I'm obviously the face of it and
Mm.
being the one that's on the Instagram. So we really had to like head down, bum up, and get really clear. But I couldn't find the gap. And then I think that was the key. I recognized the gaps. There was probably two main ones. And then we kind of filled those gaps with you and we hit the ground running, which is very cool.
I love that. And what was your vision for your baby leave and for running a business as a mum? Like, did that feel clear to you, or was it more just that nudge of, I know I need something repeatable, I know I need something that's structured? Yeah, I'm curious to know if you had a clear vision then and whether that's changed to what it looks like now as you're stepping into taking some time off.
I feel like it was pretty clear because I'm a pretty clear person, and I feel
Yeah.
like it's the same actually. So,
Okay.
what I knew I wanted then was messaging that I could just say. I didn't have to like keep thinking about it. I felt like every
Mm.
day I was like, what do I say? And I teach this, but for myself, it's like I couldn't wrap my hands around it. And then the other part was wanting launches. Like I love launching. I don't have a problem with launching. I think it's great. I think it's, what I actually have fun selling. But I think I didn't have a system that was as rinse and repeatable as I wanted it to be. So I knew I wanted that. I knew in the lead up, obviously not knowing how long it was going to take us to fall pregnant. It ended up taking us 6 months, which at the time felt like an eternity. So also we weren't sure how many cohorts we were going to run. So
Mm.
all I knew when we worked with you was I want a system that I can rinse and repeat right up till my third trimester, which is literally right now. And I want it to work every time. I want to launch a program, run a program, launch a program, run a program till I go on leave. And that is literally exactly what we did, which is very cool.
Yeah, amazing. And I really love, I mean, we'll get into the messaging piece in a second, but I really love that you named how much you love launching
Yeah.
because I cannot tell you how many clients will come in saying, I don't want to launch, just give me anything aside from launching. I don't want to do it. And then by the end of working together, typically they're launching. And even if they're selling one-on-one, they'll still have some kind of container around that. And I think that it's actually a really great way to create space in your calendar and time off but you have to do the work beforehand, right? It's like a launch is determined before you even open the cart, right? And so, well, I'm sure we'll have lots of conversations about that, but I'm curious to get your thoughts.
Well, what was really interesting, actually, I remember the first time we set it all up when I was in CCBD, and I said to Greg, "This is so much work. What?" And I was mind blown. But then we launched it the second time, which was probably 3 months plus later. And literally, I think I traveled. My family live in Melbourne. I think I traveled to Melbourne. I did something else. I had loads of spare time, and I was like, "Oh my goodness, all that work was for this." And that is the coolest thing. I think that, when I thought about what she's sharing together today, I was like, that is so cool. Because yes, the first one was a lot of work, and I'm sure you remember how dedicated I was. I was like, "Here is my homework."
Here's what I've done.
Yeah, I did not take things lightly, but it paid off. And yes, it meant that period, it was a lot of work. It was probably more than I understood that we needed. And I'm so grateful for that, actually. But it meant that we launched, I think, 2 or 3 more times after that launch. So we launched together in CCBD and then twice afterwards leading into this. And both of those, it was just like cruisy, and the results were amazing as well. Like pretty much both sold out, all 3 almost sold out. And income that was for a longer period of time because we did longer payment plans, which was actually fantastic. So all of that just worked out beautifully as well.
Oh, I love all of that. Tell me more about, let's just keep going down the launch route because we're already here. We'll come back
So
to the messaging.
yes.
But you said it was so much work. Like at the time I was like, oh my gosh. Tell me a little bit about what you maybe were doing for launches beforehand and what shifted. Like tell me more about like, wow, this is a lot. Is this all necessary? Like, can you name some things that feel specific about that experience and what you were working on?
Yeah, I feel like one of them was that we never really did like a full-blown sales page. And Greg actually comes from that world. So he's really, really good at it. He's really well versed in it. But I was always very Aquarius about it. I was always like, "It'll be fine. They'll understand what I do." Which, of course, we need to communicate what we do. And so that was a lot, like wrapping my brain around the language, which, is part of the messaging component, was huge for me. We also ran a workshop. We also set up all our funnels from scratch again. So we ditched everything we had prior. We also did, brand new workshop as well, brand new sales page, all brand new copy, all brand new emails. So we literally redid everything again in the business. And that was, it was earlier last year, and we're at the start of 2026 right now. So we've used it ever since. We actually haven't changed anything. Yeah.
It's amazing. It's amazing. But it is a lot though. I've got a client at the moment who she's been in business for a really long time, but she's launching a brand new offer. And she's like, damn, I forgot how much work this is, like for the first launch, but then you get to just harvest from those seeds that you planted.
Absolutely. And that was the truth of what happened. Like, it was so rinse and repeatable. And it's why the 2 launches after that were so much easier. And I could really have that breath of fresh air of like, cool, this works. And like I said before, I am comfortable, obviously, as a business coach with selling, with launching. Like, that comes really naturally to me. But I didn't have the base to hold that. It's like Greg always says, like, I'm a talent, and I'm like, whoa, flying in the wind. But I needed something to like ground me down. And that's exactly what it did.
And I think you've named something really important for projectors too. I think that it is something that I think can be harder for you to see yourself in terms of the work and the impact that you have, because your ability, and because you are intuitive, an intuitive and a psychic as well, like you spend all this time seeing the other,
Yeah.
and so and I'm curious to know if anything, kind of came up around that, because I know for me, like when I've sought specific support as a business coach, as a strategist from other business coaches and strategists, it at times has brought up a lot around like my own ability and my own worth and things like that. And it's only now you know, it's only been more recently where I've realized like everyone has such a different skill set.
Yeah.
And at different times, that's what I really needed. But I'm curious to know if like anything ever came up for you around that.
It's funny, I actually just loved it. I remember, like, after all the bits being like, I can see all my strengths and where I, like, play in my
Mm.
arena really, really well. And then I was like, damn, I picked well in jazz. Because, to be honest, because you had the exact gaps that I just didn't have at the time. So I remember it just feeling like good, and
Mm.
really being grateful for that and loving that process instead of feeling like that opposite feeling of like, oh my gosh, maybe I'm not good enough. I was actually like, wow, I'm really good at my parts and the bits
Mm.
that I get my clients, and my clients probably slightly earlier in the journey in the way I teach them. But there was this thing, like two main things, these things that we're talking about that I really needed. So I just loved it.
Oh, amazing. And I think I love what you shared around the zone of genius piece and like you just being in like knowing what you're good at. And I think that like coming back to you being a projector, I think that that's the most important thing for projectors is like we
Yeah.
create an ecosystem that is going to support you to just see, you know, and to share from that place and to have the space to share your expertise with other people and have everything else feeling a little bit more repeatable. And I think one of the biggest, I think, one of the biggest challenges I think for projectors at the start is like the whole invitation piece. And I think that that's what the sales ecosystem is. And that's what having a rinse and repeatable launch is, because you're able then to create a pathway for people to recognize you, which is exactly what's happened for you over the course of 2025.
Exactly. And I feel like between writing out the messaging docs and then writing the sales page at the beginning, I was like, but how do I encapsulate like everything that I do? And then when we did capture it and put it on both and blah blah blah, I think that was my moment of like, this is how I can take everything that I do and help it make sense. And it actually really solidified everything when I did the sales page, and all of that. And I think too, just another quick thing to touch on that I think is interesting is a lot of people are like, I want to be creative and I want to like, I was like this, I want to like make a new offer and what I found is because my solid base was there in the messaging, in the sales page, in the launch strategy, I actually got to be creative around that, which was way more fun anyway. So I just think that's really interesting as well.
Ooh, I love that. That I think is such an important point that like our brain is so much more excited about creating something new.
Yeah.
Like it's not pumped about leveraging things that already exist and continuing to it's like when you're building a house and it's like the slab goes down and then you're just like, oh, hurry up, like I just hurry up and get this done, you know.
Yes.
And it's like that's not the exciting part of the process. It's like the slab, you're doing all the planning and the slab goes down and it's all exciting and then it's not, then it's just taking too long, right? And I think that you've named something really important in that. I think that people are more likely to create something new and move on to something else than they are to create a lot of those foundational things, feeling
Yeah.
like, because there's this belief, right? That it's like, I'm not going to be able to be as creative and I'm not going to be able to have as much fun if I continue building this thing. But I think you've named something really important in that when you've got that base, like foundation and that slab, like, and the walls and all of that is there, it's like decorate it however you
Yeah.
want, right? And it sounds like you've done that in each of your launches, even though it's been rinse and repeat. Like I still change my messaging like a little bit in going into launches, and like the angle and like the flavor and the frequency, like I just tune into what's happening collectively, and it might be more of an emphasis on the strategic side, but then there's going to be launches that are more focused on like the embodiment side, because I feel like that's just what's coming up collectively, but you're not redesigning the whole thing.
Exactly. Spot on. And that's what I love, not redesigning the whole thing.
Yeah, yeah. And I think what then gets to happen, and this is more of a long-term thing, but you then start to gather more data and then you start to learn more things. And you're then, if you're always changing things, like there's nothing to compare it to, you know, like the first thing that I do going into a sales period is like, cool, I'm going to go back and look at my last sales launches, like emails, and like what were the open and clicks. And then I'm like, oh, that's funny. That email over the past 4 launches has always done well. I'm going to do that again, you know. But if you're always changing, like it's hard to get to that point.
And that's what we were doing as well. I was constantly changing. and then we didn't have the data to collect because I was just like, let's just do it all again. And it's funny because I can be very grounded, but there was still that happening in business. So I'm so glad that shifted.
Yeah, well, you've got so much openness in your human, being Aquarian as well, but all the openness in your human design chart too is like we want to create something that is structured but still allows you to flow, or it's going to get really restrictive. But I think what you've named, which I think is really important, and I see this all the time, particularly with clients who have undefined G centers, which you do, a lot of Aquarian energy, just air energy as a whole, like maybe a lot of Gemini energy. I see, yeah, just or even like yeah, even like third house in astrology. Yeah, there's a few different things that I notice. And there's this feeling of like, well, if I have something repeatable, then I can't be creative. And it's like there is this conflation of those two ideas, that it's like, and it's like, it doesn't need to be that way. Like structure does not need to mean restriction.
No, it's so untrue. And I always say, like, to my girls, like, it's structure that you can dance within. And
Yes.
that's something I really, really loved embodying myself through this process too, because you can be so creative inside the house. And that's what I love.
Yeah, and you can build in, I know that we've spoken about this before, but like I'm a really firm believer in your launch results being determined before you even open the cart. That yes, there's so much that you can do in the launch, and there's lots of strategies that we spoke about, and the waitlist and emails and all of that is super, super important. But also when you are creating something that is more repeatable, there's so much more you could do in between. You can be building a wait list, you can have a funnel there, like you can get to a point where you're not really needing to put in as much effort because it's just continuing to compound, with so much less effort, which I feel like you've really been experiencing. And you're going to, like, I know that you mentioned that as soon as you come out of baby leave, like you're going straight into another launch, and like you can do that because of that work.
Yeah, and provided, like, people always say, like, when you have a baby, like, your whole what you want
Of
changes.
course.
But,
Of
like,
course.
I'm open to that, and I feel like I would love to come back from baby leave and just be like, cool, let's tweak a few things that need tweaking, but let's launch this because it's such a good program. Everyone loves it. It gets such good results. Like, let's go, let's run with it. And the fact that we can do that, like, that's real business. That's, for me, that shows real solid business.
Yeah, I love that. And I would say that like I've got my notepad here, and I would say that the most common thing that I draw on my notepad in my coaching calls, especially for this cohort of CCBD that we've been in, I'm in a cohort same as you at the moment, is like this little circle that connects to this other circle. And the reason I draw it all the time is I'm like, when most people have got something more like this, where they've got this offer and they've got this offer, and there's a funnel here and there's a funnel over here, and there's all these things going on, and they see opportunities for money, and I see one set of messaging, another set of messaging, a different set, dilution of focus. Like that's what I see. And I think that what opens up when you are rinse and repeating and building the foundations for one thing is then you open up this like new relationship where everything is leading to here, and you're building, like, you've got all this amazing messaging and this rapport and just authority about this thing. Then that's when the rest of it opens up, where it's like, cool, I'm going to create an Ascension like community space here, or I'm going to have this thing. And it's like, you're not actually selling anything new to your community and your audience. You're just focused on building great relationships and increasing like the customer lifetime value of people that have come in. And that, like you just spoke then about, like, that is real business. That, like, this to me is like when you can do that in your business, like and I think that's very Pluto in Aquarius in the era we're moving into as well, where it's very relational, and there is an incentive for people to stay over time. And I just, like, I see that so much for your business in what you've created. And like that, you know, like, of course, keep it open for whatever happens with baby. And like, I have a friend who just had a baby, and she's got a massive, massive business, like multiple 7-figure business. She was like, I've got all these plans. And I'm like, cannot wait for that baby to say, fuck your plans. I don't give a shit about your plans. But in saying that, like, I just think that there's all of that is so much more available to you because you've created this ecosystem of support.
Yeah. And even like if we did want to tweak something, it's there. Like the foundation is there. And I hope it's just the same because it's so good. And it's also a good program. The messaging is so clear as well as yeah.
Yeah, I love that. I love the work that you do. And that brings us to like this conversation around messaging too, because I think that your work is so incredibly unique. Like you mentioned that you're, a business coach and a strategist, but you do so much else, like you bring in like so much psychic and intuitive support for your clients. You're amazing at content creation, at growth on Instagram and social media. And you do lots of different things. You can have a conversation with someone about social media the same way that you can be like, channeling their guides and then talking about a funnel and like and I get it as someone who is like similarly in the work that I do, and I attract a lot of people who are like that, and the biggest thing that they share is like, I don't know how the fuck to explain all of these different things. So tell me about that for you, and if you can think of any tangible ways that you were describing your work before to now, like let's have a conversation around that, because I know that that's a really big challenge for a lot of people, me included at times.
It's so cool to talk about. And it fascinates me to like the nth degree as well. It excites me because I feel like how I used to do it was less grounded. And now I would describe it as more grounded. So even though it is intuitive psychic work as a business coach and a strategist, it just feels more grounded, like people can understand it. And now I often hear, I chose you because you do both. I chose you because you understand this and that. And I'm like, oh, it's working. So that was really clear for me. And I do think it's challenging when it feels like, and so many people can relate to this, when what we do feels quote unquote hard to describe. And that comes from us being so multifaceted, even like, yeah, what with you do that you mix in the human design, the astrology and the strategy, and the way that you communicated that was kind of what got me like, that's interesting to me. Like there's a similarity there. They're different, but there's something going on there. So I feel like before I was always trying to think of like, what's another way to describe this instead of just being really specific. And I remember when we were doing the messaging doc, and this one day actually, Greg and I were working on it so I could show it to you. And I started crying. I said, classic me, always having a cry. And I started crying and I was like, I can't, I like can't put my work into this, and I don't know how. And I was just feeling all the feels, very in my feminine. And he was like, we just need to sit in this uncomfortable part. And I think that's where most people don't sit. And we just got really messy and we kind of got it wrong. And I was like, no, that's not what they get. I kind of hate that. No, that's what other people do. It's too ethereal. Like my work isn't that ethereal. So we had to ground it down. And we just played with that. In the end, we ended up talking about this line of like, you're tired of your soul's medicine not having the income it deserves. And I was just like, oh my God, that's it. Like, that's
I think
it.
I
Like,
remember literally highlighting that in your, did I highlight that in your brand
I
script and be
think
like,
so.
dang, I feel like I did.
Because we
Yeah.
ended up putting it at the top, somewhere at the top of the sales
I
page.
think, yeah, I'm remembering that now. Yeah. Yeah.
And I was just like, that's it. That's it. Everything else we were thinking of, it gives me freaking goosebumps still. Like, everything else we were thinking of felt kind of like either too strategy-ish or
Mm,
like too, like I said before, like too wishy-washy, too up there. Nothing wrong with that. It's just not me.
mm.
It's not that, I'll use the word ethereal again. It's not that ethereal. And when we found this middle ground of like, no, I want the women who come to me to have that both in them. So it was a very cool experience.
I love that. And I think, and we were kind of touching on this a little bit before we hit record. I have been thinking a lot, at the time of recording, I think that we're, right now at the beginning of 2026, this is beginning of 2025. I think we're in a totally different place. Like, I think that collectively, like we're shifting. Neptune and Saturn are about to move into Aries. Like, I think that we're moving into an era of embodiment. I think the way that this is going to shift messaging is that it won't just be the transformation that we are communicating. It will also be a conversation of like how we uniquely approach something. So
Mm.
how we uniquely solve problems or provide solutions to our client. And I think that that's something that you do really well. And I would say from my perspective, like as, someone who was supporting you and seeing that, I think that that's what you did really well, is like you took the transformation, which at the end of the day is growing a business, right? Like
Yeah.
that is what we do. But like the way that that gets done, I think is not, I would say that's not messaging 101. Like it's usually something that we're kind of told not to do, you know, like communicate the results, communicate the transformation, communicate what they get at the end of like the road kind of thing, which is still important. I don't think that's unimportant, but I do think that the way that we get someone there and how we uniquely approach it based on our experience, based on our expertise, based on our design, like is actually the point now.
Yeah, I just love the way you like describe things and how distinct you see things. It's so cool. But I think it's exactly it. Like, and I think something I did lean into was that my approach is unique, and that
Mm.
not just that the outcome is cool, because lots of people can get you that outcome,
Yeah.
but like the reason someone chooses someone, a coach, at a certain point in time, I do believe is because they're like, well, I want that approach. Like that really works well for me. And I do believe we got better at explaining how our approach does get the results. And still, it's something that I'm excited to get better and better at, because I do see how it's going to be really needed this year.
Yeah. And your results reflected it, like 40% conversion rates.
Yeah. I remember when you asked that day, you're like, oh, how's your sales page converting? And I got Greg to check, and I was like, oh, 36.5%. Like, is that pretty good? And you were like, yeah.
Standard is like 2 to 5. And if you're
Yeah.
lucky, you know?
It
So
was
good.
crazy. And that's why we didn't change the sales page. Like, we
Why
have
would you?
kept nothing. We have not changed. We added video testimonials and more
Mhm.
testimonials, obviously, because each cohort, there was just better and better stuff. But we didn't change the top, the headings, anything, because the conversion was so good and so clear, which was really, really cool.
And I think you've just named something really important in that I think when you are changing so often and you're not creating a repeatable process for anything, it's really hard to figure out what's working and what's not. And
Yeah.
so many people are frustrated, not because they're not putting an effort or they're not clever or any of those things. It's because they're just doing the wrong thing. Like it's just not quite where they're at.
Yeah, and what's funny on that is we already said, we sat down like, okay, what's going to need to happen for the next launch? And I think I was messaging
Mhm.
you about this too, and I was like, it's probably not the right time for me to do it again, but like, with baby, blah, blah, blah. But, when we get back into it, it's really clear now there's two things we want to tweak. One being like our email sequence, and the other being just more traffic, because obviously we convert so well. So it's just like, well,
Yeah.
why don't we add more people? So those two things, but that became really clear now that we've launched the same way 3 times instead of each one being different. And by the third one, when it actually was our best launch, highest cash collected, highest sales revenue, highest conversion, but I could still see that where those things could be, even better.
I love that. And I think that that's, and when we're having this conversation, I shared with you that 2025 for us was all a traffic year. Like it was just focused on that. And I think that you have a lot more confidence to go all in on that, even though it does feel like a risk. It's like, I'm
Yeah.
putting a lot in this like area, but when you have like data and insights to back that up, it's so much easier to make that decision, and we're starting the year with like a new partner program and more than like 50,000 emails of
Yeah.
like people that we get to collaborate with now, right? Which like wouldn't have happened had I not gone all in on, okay, we're working on traffic, but it's like the data and the insights and that gave me that indication, so it's just I think it's a really empowering way to run your business.
So empowering, and something that I don't think was taught enough when I was looking for support. Like something that I was always like, I want someone who can do this, even, this part, and does this part even better than me, because I can be really grounded and factual as well. But I think a lot of the guidance I was getting was still really like hard to grasp. Whereas this felt really grounded.
Oh, that's a great reflection. Thank you. And I think like to be honest, I would say that there's like been so many periods where the like this being Saturn ruled, which I know you are as well. But I've got a lot of like very logical like energy in my chart. And I feel like there's been a lot. I've also got Saturn in my second house of money. So I feel like I've I've had a lot of things thrown at me, and there's almost this part of me that feels like very resentful at how long things have taken me at times and how many lessons I've needed to kind of go through to get to this point. But at the same time, I'm like, I feel like it is through that lens of like, I don't actually, even though from the outside, it probably, people may have that. I am a fifth line after all, so part of the projection field, that
Mhm.
assumption that things have been really easy. They really haven't. And I really feel like it's only really been the last 18 months to 2 years where I'm like, okay, now I feel like now I'm where I need to be, and there is a lot of resentment and frustration there. And also, I think that
Mhm.
even though it's been frustrating in my own life, I think that's the gift for clients, is that I know all the things that can go wrong, and like, not from a negative perspective. It's just like, I'm helping someone see like something that maybe they wouldn't be. And even though it can be frustrating for me to feel like things take time and to feel like things don't come easy, I
Yeah.
also feel like the grit and like the understanding of all of these things is what I love to offer. It's like, I fucked up all these things, and like, here is what I know to be true. Like, here is what I know about like simplifying your business model and being focused on conversion rate, and like all these things are because I didn't do that, and so it's something that I think is very useful for the people that I work with now.
Yeah, it's like, I've done this, so now you don't have to.
Pretty much, unfortunately.
But it's a gift.
Oh,
It really is.
yeah, thank you. It's been such an amazing thing to like just check in with you, as you've been doing your launches, and like to hear those reflections of like, I'm just doing the same thing. Like, I'm just rinse and repeating what we did, and we had a 40% conversion rate and highest cash collected, like all these things. And it doesn't always happen in that like way. And I think that it's a credit to the commitment that you've had to continue like doing this work and leveraging that. But it's been a really amazing thing for me to like witness that for you, knowing that you're planning maternity leave and then you got pregnant and all those kinds of things. Like, it was just a really cool thing for me to witness.
That's so beautiful. I love it so much. Yeah, and thank you. And thanks for just being part of the journey. Like, it was really, really cool just to learn it all, and especially because it felt like such an important passage of time, for me, for us, for our house. So it's really, really cool. And I'm just
Amazing.
excited for what's next.
Yeah. So 3 weeks to go, and then you're moving into baby leave.
Yeah, 3 weeks. It's like three in a bed and then
Yeah.
baby leave. So really, we're just going to end this round of Scale, the program.
Yeah.
It's been an awesome, awesome cohort. There's, a few people can have the option of like, there's a few little upgrades I could do in these next few weeks, but really
Yeah.
just then slowing down and getting ready for baby to arrive. And then we're going to take the first few months off, which is,
Yeah.
feel so grateful to be able to do that,
Yeah.
which is awesome. It was always my goal, to have that
Yeah.
time off. And
Yeah.
then as we're ready, we'll just find our feet and pop back in and hopefully have a good old time again.
Yeah. Amazing. So good. So where would you like to invite people to come and connect with you?
All about the gram over here. I'm a
Yes,
big
you're amazing
Instagram
on the
fan.
gram.
I'm obsessed. I'm sure you'll pop it below, but it's Adriana Loves, and I just love sharing all of it. Like, I share life, I share business, and it's a platform I've really grown to love. Obviously, I teach it too, so that helps, but that's the spot. I love it.
Amazing. And tell us about Scaled.
Yes, and Scaled will so hopefully run again after baby leave. We're
Yes.
actually doing the waitlist again, so thank you for that. Waitlist also did really well. So waitlist is open
Love a
now.
good wait list. Probably my
Oh,
favorite strategy ever.
I know, I know. I had heard you talking about it so much. I was like, all right, Jazz, I'll do it. It worked. So we're running a waitlist again. The waitlist is opened already for intake for after baby, and we're just leaving it, a little blank in terms of dates and things like that. But people can just pop on there, and we'll do hopefully another 12 weeks of Scaled, and really just anchoring into the fact that it is a really tailored program. So each week has a theme, and I know we spoke a lot about how I wanted Scaled to be and how I wanted it to be different from what I had been in, because that felt like it complemented how I teach. So
Mm.
every week is themed, between offers to content creation to stories, that sell on Instagram, then inner work weeks. And that's worked really, really well. So I think that's been our big thing that's made Scaled what it is the structure, and that's different because some programs don't need it. And it just felt so right for us to have it. So I can't wait to run it again like that as well.
Oh, I love it. I feel like that's, I mean, we haven't got into a huge amount of detail about this in our conversation today, but I feel like that's another thing that I think is so important as it relates to like messaging as well, is like messaging and the positioning of the work that you do is not just about the words you use. It's about the way you structure things, the way that you hold the space, you know, like it's, you're an undefined G Aquarius, you know, like there needs to be that freedom and flow, you know, for you to share in that way. And there needs to be that depth. You know, like you're a 1-3 for a reason. Like you're the only profile that's like completely in that lower trigram. Like you're here to be in the depths and to understand the work that you do so intimately that you can support other people. And so the way that that's been structured really reflects that. I think I love that. And I think that that is something that is also part of messaging, is the way that we hold the space and the way that it's structured and the way that we deliver it.
And owning how unique we are. Like once I really, when we were doing the messaging work together, I started just owning who I am as a business owner, as a creator, and just being like, well, that is how I like to hold the space, and it works really, really well. And I don't have to be like the next person. I just get to be like me. And that was a really, I think, a pivotal shift in why it worked so well too. And the depth it's real. Even all my friends will say, like, it's just how I roll. Yeah.
It's like, I don't want to know what you did today. I want to know like what your deepest, darkest fears are and like
I'm like,
what
and how
trauma
did
are you
today
working through at the
feel?
moment.
Yeah. How did you feel going through your day today? And I
Yeah.
think the program really attests to that too, because it gives me the space to know each person really well, to go into the depth and do all those beautiful things.
Amazing. Well, we'll pop the links in the show notes and so that you can go and connect with Adriana and yeah, see what she's up to. And I'm sure you'll probably be sharing bits and pieces on your maternity leave because yeah, I thought so. Yeah.
Totally. I'm like, oh, I just want to tell everyone what this little baby is.
Yeah, of course. Amazing. Well, it's honestly been like such, yeah, a pleasure. And I feel really like, yeah, I feel really honored that, you know, I was able to support in something that's going to be literally life changing for you, you
Literal.
know, and that just feels really special. Like you know, really love all the work that I do, but it's extra special when there's these little things around, you know, like I'm preparing to have a baby and like, can you help me with that? You know, like that's such a, I feel really, my Cancerian is like, oh, I'm involved in your life. And that feels really, you know, I feel really grateful for that. So thank you. And thank you for being like so coachable and just, you know, committed and dedicated to the work. I think that it's been like really amazing to work with you and really amazing to just witness it from afar as well. I think that you're really incredible at what you do. And yeah, it's truly been like a pleasure to watch you grow and rise and do all the things you've been doing.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. The projector in me is like, yes, to be seen. So thank you. And thank you as well for what you've done, for us, like you said, like as a family, and of course, like, yes, we put all the things in, but the work you do is incredible. So thank you.
You're welcome. So welcome.